In the age of overstimulation, where dopamine is the new drug and distraction the new disease, very few men understand the power of controlled abstinence. We live in a world that celebrates indulgence, scrolling, consuming, releasing but never conserving. Yet hidden beneath layers of forgotten wisdom and ignored biology lies a truth both ancient and psychological. Semen retention is not just about physical control, it's about mental dominance. It is a discipline that rewires the brain, fortifies emotional strength, and awakens an unstoppable inner clarity. The man who practices it learns a rare art: how to master desire instead of being mastered by it. The mind and body are deeply connected through energy. Semen is the body's most potent concentration of life force. Biologically, it's rich in proteins, hormones, and minerals essential for vitality. But psychologically, it represents creative potential. Every act of release drains not just physical energy, but mental focus. When a man abstains, that same energy is reabsorbed into his system, fueling brain chemistry, sharpening his memory, and deepening his presence. Neuroscience now supports what yogic masters knew thousands of years, and dopamine levels stabilize during retention, allowing the brain to regain balance. In this balance, men find peace, confidence, and higher awareness. The psychological transformation begins with the shift in focus. Most men are conditioned to seek stimulation constantly, whether through screens, fantasies, or validation. This endless cycle keeps them trapped in what psychologists call the dopamine loop. The more they indulge, the less satisfaction they feel. But when a man practices abstinence, he breaks this loop. Initially, the mind resists it, craves the familiar hit. But with discipline, the brain rewires itself. The dopamine receptors become more sensitive, meaning smaller, real-world rewards, like progress, creativity, and purpose begin to feel fulfilling again. This is the hidden psychology of motivation that semen retention activates. Another profound psychological effect is the rebuilding of self. Every man carries an inner sense of control or lack thereof. When a man gives in to impulse, especially sexual ones, he subconsciously weakens his self-trust. He begins to feel that he cannot master his own urges. This sense of defeat lowers self-esteem and fuels anxiety. But abstinence reverses that. Every day of retention is a victory of will over weakness. Over time, this consistency forms an unshakable self-image. The man begins to view himself as powerful, capable, and directed. The world mirrors this self-perception. People respond differently to a man who exudes control. In relationships, this energy shift is palpable. Women subconsciously sense energetic stability. The man who practices retention no longer radiates neediness. His energy feels full, grounded, and centered. He doesn't chase validation because he doesn't feel lack. His body language is relaxed, his speech slower and more deliberate, his gaze deeper. This psychological composure translates to emotional intelligence. He listens more, reacts less, and connects authentically. Ironically, the man who abstains from chasing becomes the one most sought after. The secret isn't charm, it's the psychological effect of controlled energy. But the true battlefield of semen retention is internal. The first weeks of abstinence are a psychological storm. Cravings, agitation, and intrusive thoughts test one's will. The mind tries to negotiate, to justify small indulgences. Yet every resisted temptation strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control. Modern neuroscience calls this process neural strengthening. The ancient yogis called it tapas, or inner fire. This fire refines the mind, purifies it from dependency, and transforms lust into clarity. With time, what once felt like deprivation becomes liberation. The mind grows calm because it no longer fights itself. Abstinence also expands attention span, a rare asset in today's world. When sexual energy is not constantly expended, mental energy accumulates. The man becomes more focused, more observant, more present. Psychologically, this happens because the brain stops oscillating between craving and reward. It settles into a state of flow, deep, sustained attention where productivity and creativity thrive. Great inventors, artists, and monks throughout history tapped into this state by conserving energy. Modern psychology now labels this as deep work, but ancient wisdom knew it as brahmacharya, in harmony with one's higher purpose by controlling lower desires. Another critical aspect is emotional stability. Constant indulgence keeps men emotionally reactive. Their moods fluctuate with their energy levels and external stimuli. Retention stabilizes this emotional rhythm. The mind becomes less attached to fleeting pleasures and more grounded in purpose. This doesn't mean the man becomes emotionless. It means his emotions become tools, not masters. Anger becomes assertiveness. Desire becomes creativity. Loneliness becomes introspection. Abstinence allows emotional transmutation, converting raw feelings into refined strength. This is the psychological alchemy of retention, turning chaos into clarity. Confidence is another major byproduct, but this confidence isn't loud or performative. It's quiet, magnetic, and deeply rooted. It comes from knowing that your energy is under your command. You no longer need external validation because you've mastered your internal state. Psychologically, this confidence comes from congruency alignment between your intentions and actions. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you prove to your subconscious that you can rely on yourself. This reliability manifests as calm authority. When you speak, people listen, not because you demand it, but because your energy communicates integrity. One of the most overlooked benefits of abstinence is the strengthening of intuition. When the mind is not clouded by lust or overstimulation, subtle insights become clear. Many practitioners report sharper instincts, faster decision-making, and heightened awareness of sync. Modern psychology refers to this as improved interoception, the brain's ability to sense internal signals. When sexual energy is retained, it amplifies bodily awareness, connecting thought and feeling. This connection allows the man to act from intuition rather than impulse. He becomes attuned to opportunity and immune to manipulation. In essence, abstinence heightens both rational and intuitive intelligence. Semen retention also impacts stress resilience. When energy is conserved, cortisol levels stabilize and the nervous system becomes more balanced. This biological equilibrium translates into psychological calm. Stressful situations no longer trigger panic, they trigger focus. The mind learns to respond instead of react. This shift from reactivity to responsiveness is a hallmark of mental strength. The man becomes centered even in chaos, grounded even under pressure. Ancient teachers describe this as sthita prajna, the state of unshakable awareness. Modern psychology calls it emotional regulation. Both point to the same truth. Inner mastery breeds outer composure. The psychological framework of semen retention is built on three pillars: awareness, control, and transmutation. Awareness means recognizing how your energy moves, what triggers your urges, and how your mind reacts. Control means consciously choosing your response rather than being driven by habit. Transmutation means redirecting sexual energy into creative or intellectual pursuits. When these three work together, the man evolves from reactive to proactive. His motivation no longer depends on pleasure, but on purpose. This is the essence of being mentally unstoppable, not freedom from desire, but freedom through it. Incorporating these teachings into modern life requires a balance of ancient wisdom and contemporary psychology. Daily meditation, journaling, and mindfulness practices reinforce the retention mindset. Each strengthens prefrontal control, grounding the man in discipline. In practical terms, abstinence boosts productivity, enhances communication, and deepens relationships. In spiritual terms, it elevates consciousness. The modern man who integrates both worlds becomes an evolved archetype of thinker, warrior, and creator combined. His power lies not in suppression, but in self-direction. It's important to clarify that semen retention is not an act of denial, but of mastery. True abstinence doesn't reject sexuality, it refines it. It acknowledges sexual energy as sacred and potent, too valuable to waste on fleeting pleasure. This understanding shifts a man's entire psychology. Instead of guilt or shame, he feels gratitude and control. Instead of chasing highs, he sustains harmony. He learns that pleasure is sweetest when it follows purpose. This harmony between body and mind is the foundation of higher consciousness, the merging of discipline and freedom. Many ancient Gurukul teachings revolved around this concept. Young disciples were taught brahmacharya as a means to mental and spiritual growth. They weren't told to avoid desire, but to channel it toward knowledge, creativity, and service. This psychological training produced minds of incredible depth, calm, sharp, and visionary. Modern schools could learn from this. Teaching young men about energy management and self-discipline would cultivate resilience, focus, and emotional intelligence, qualities now missing in overstimulated generations. The return of such teachings would be the real evolution of education. Ultimately, the psychology of semen retention is about sovereignty, the ability to govern your own mind. When a man masters his impulses, he masters his destiny. Lust, when uncontrolled, scatters energy. When harnessed, it fuels greatness. Abstinence trains the mind to hold that energy like a laser-focused, deliberate, and unstoppable. The man becomes less reactive, more strategic, less needy, more magnetic. His presence alone begins to influence others. This transformation is not mystically, it's measurable. It's the result of directing biological energy with conscious intent. Semen retention is not for the faint of heart. It demands consistency, awareness, and patience. But its rewards are immense. Focus that cuts through noise, confidence that radiates without arrogance, and peace that no circumstance can shake. It's not just a lifestyle, it's a psychological evolution. The man who walks this path learns the secret of all mastery. Power, dose, and tea come from taking more from the world. It comes from giving less of yourself away. In that realization, he becomes truly free, mentally unbreakable, emotionally grounded, and spiritually unstoppable. Was this the fire you needed? Let me know by hitting like. More importantly, if you want this growth to be consistent, subscribe and join the team. I love connecting with every one of you. So please, tell me where in the world you're watching from in the comments. 4 questions too deep for comments and direct access to our community. The Telegram channel is open, the link is in the description. Your one mission: share this powerful message with one person who needs to hear it. Have an absolutely powerful day.